Hello everybody and welcome to day 3 of Wonderful Water. Hope you had fun making your rain gauges yesterday, and who knows, maybe we'll get some rain later on this week that we can measure. So today we are going to be making a cloud in either a bottle or a jar, and this is a way of showing you that clouds are just water vapour in our atmosphere that has condensed, that is condensation. So condensation is when you get things like water on the mirror in your bathroom. So it's water vapour in the air that cools suddenly and turns back into liquid. So I'm going to show you 2 ways that you can make a cloud. The first way is using a plastic bottle. So you need a plastic bottle with a lid. You need to fill your bottle about 3/4 full of water. So you leave an air space at the top here. Now, if I shake the bottle like this, even though we can't see it, some of the water that was liquid will have turned into gas. So this part of the bottle that looks empty will actually contain some water vapour. And if I squeeze the bottle, what I'm doing is I'm squashing that gas, so I'm increasing the pressure and making that airspace high pressure, and actually that raises the temperature a little bit. So that wants to keep the water as water vapour. Then if I release the bottle, I'm releasing that airspace, the pressure is getting lower, and so the temperature is lower as well. And that will mean that any water vapour that's in this space will want to condense, it will want to turn back into liquid. So I squeeze to raise the pressure and the temperature, and I release to lower the pressure and the temperature. The problem is that at the moment we can't see any of that water vapour condensing to form a cloud. What we need is we actually need some very, very tiny particles for the water vapour to condense onto. So in your bathroom, the water vapour will condense onto the surface of anything cold, like the mirror or the taps. But in this plastic bottle, there isn't anything for the water to condense onto at the moment. So we need to introduce some very, very tiny particles for that to happen. And what we're going to do for that is we're actually going to use a match. So this is a part where you will need to ask an adult to help you. I'm going to shake the bottle again, and that's to introduce more water vapour into the space. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to very safely light a match and just drop it into the bottle. So I'm going to take the lid off, I'm going to strike my match safely away from me, and I'm going to blow it out and drop it into the bottle. And I'm going to put the lid on really quickly. So now, even though we can't see them, there are some very, very small smoke particles in this space. So when I squeeze now, I'm raising the pressure and the temperature in my bottle, so the water is still as a vapour. And then when I release it, I'm actually lowering the temperature and the pressure. So can you see there's actually condensation? I've made a little cloud in the top half of my bottle. I'm going to do it again. So I squeeze and it goes clear because I've raised the temperature. And then when I release, I lower the temperature and it actually condenses up. Can you see how it's gone all white in there? That's actually my cloud forming. That's that water vapour condensing onto this smoke particle. So if I do it again, I squeeze it, I increase the pressure so that water vapour becomes vapour again, and then when I lower the pressure and the temperature, it actually clouds up inside there because the water vapour condenses onto the smoke particles. So that's one way that you can make a cloud in a bottle. You can have a go at that at home if you've got, all you need is a plastic bottle and some water and somebody that can help you safely light a match. So that's the first way. The second way, you need a glass jar. So what I've got here is I've actually just got some warm water. This is water that I boiled in my kettle to make it nice and warm. And I've just put a bit of food colouring in so you can see that the water is blue there. And you can already see, actually, if you look really carefully, you can see some condensation on the inside of the jar. So the water vapour is condensing on the jar. I'm just going to swirl that around so I get lots of nice water vapour in the top. Then what you need is the lid of the jar, and we need to cool that water vapour down. So I'm going to put some ice in the lid. The lid's upside down to hold the ice. So I'm just going to place that on the top of the jar. So what's happening now is that the water vapour that's in the atmosphere in the jar is now being cooled down by that ice. So again, it wants to form condensation, but to make a cloud, again, it needs some particles to condense onto. This time I'm not going to use smoke, I'm actually going to use some hairspray. So if you've got a can of hairspray at home, what you need to do really quickly, I'm going to lift the lid off, just squirt a tiny bit of hairspray into the jar and pop the lid back on again. So here I go, so I've got my warm water and my food colouring, a nice air space with my water vapour in it that's been cooled down by my ice. And then I just did a very quick spray of hairspray. So the hairspray introduces particles into the atmosphere, tiny microscopic little particles, and the water vapour in my atmosphere condenses onto those particles. It makes condensation, and you can clearly see my cloud has formed in my jar. In fact, if I take the lid off, should be able to see some of it coming out the top. There we go, there's my cloud coming out. I can pop the lid back on again and more condensation will form, and that keeps going for quite a while. So there you are, 2 different ways in which you can show that a cloud is water vapour in the air that has condensed. So the bottle method or the jar method. So I hope you have really good fun trying to create a cloud in a bottle or a jar. And I'll see you tomorrow when I'm going to show you how to make your very own waterfall. Bye!